Coverage starts at 8 o'clock. The tip-off at about a quarter after. Both teams seeking their first national title. This is UNLV's first appearance at the Final Two. Live tonight, CBS sportscaster Brent Musburger will be making his final appearance for the network in the NCAA final after being fired on Sunday. According to CBS Sports executive producer Ted Shaker, the network wanted Musburger to cut back his workload. Musburger had been with the network since 1975, was told Sunday that his contract, worth nearly $2 million a year, would not be renewed after tonight's game.
He had envisioned a certain role for him in the future, and he, I think, had a different idea of what that role would be.
I think we all understand the kind of business that we're in, just like athletes understand the kind of profession that they're in. And I guess nothing really surprises you.
If you could only say Chevrolet instead of
First guest made the front page headlines this week. When, listen to this, Paul, this man was employed in one form or another by the same network for 22 years, and then adios.
Out, I know.
He was working at CBS. Thanks for that vote of confidence, sir. His contract with that network was not renewed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the program the former voice of CBS Sports and still one of the legends of broadcasting, Brent Musburger.
Room of yours, David?
Yeah.
I looked at how much you were paying me this time, man.
Yeah, I know. Well, I appreciate you coming in. I assumed after this was announced, first of all, when you came out here, I said congratulations. Yeah. It's because of all of the surrounding press and all of the attention. It's almost like you've won something, and I'm just thinking, oh, yeah, nice going. Way to go. You lost your job. Yeah, congratulations.
I'm out on the streets, unemployed, and got all that free publicity.
Now, you know, when I heard about this, and first of all, I thought the timing couldn't have been stranger.
Well, strange. It was horrible.
Well, they were, where I live, they were using it as to promote the news coming up, little 10-second things all during the day. Brent Musburger gets fired, and I'm thinking, first of all, could it have been one of those Andy Rooney deals? Did he say something dumb? Did they suspend him? Did they fire him? Did he beat somebody up? And I said, no, probably not. And then I'm thinking, they're out there in Denver. CBS has got all of the sports executives out there. There's parties and stuff. Maybe he had a couple of drinks and was hitting on somebody's wife. But, you know, it was so strange because I'm thinking, what could he have done not to be re-signed? It was very hard to imagine.
We still don't know. But let me tell you an anecdote of how it ended.
Okay.
22 years at CBS, like you pointed out. And here it is at 2:30 in the morning. My brother,
Todd,
attorney Todd, called out to an elevator bank, 19th floor of the Hyatt Hotel in Denver. And he is told that it's over. That's it. And Neil Pilson, the president of CBS Sports, says to Todd, Todd, perhaps we should issue a joint statement that the two sides have broken down here and just going to go on. No, wait, Todd says. That's not what happened. You issue the statement. Yeah. So Neil says, well, Todd, what would you like me to say?
Oh, we have a picture. Is that the guy right there?
That's the guy right there. That's the one who said it.
So, man.
That's the man right there.
You know,
that's good. So,
they're just up the street. We can go find the guy.
Yeah. Hey. So my brother says, Neil, just tell the truth for once if you can.
Yeah.
So then, instead of waiting, you know, like they should have died for the championship game, it was horrible, David, to make that announcement. I felt badly for the players. I felt badly for the teams. I felt badly for everybody concerned with the Final Four because suddenly
I mean, that whole tournament had plenty of drama in and of itself. It had enough side stories, enough interest, enough really kind of heart-tugging scenarios. You didn't need this.
You got that right. I didn't need it either.
Yeah. Did you have, how long have these contract negotiations been going on?
Oh, for about a year and very easily.
Smoothly.
In fact, my brother said this is the easiest negotiating I've ever had. You know, we suspect, in fact, we're convinced that it was a charade all along.
For a full year, they're leading you along?
They're going to take me as deep as they can and get rid of me.
But why? To what advantage?
We don't know, other than perhaps they were not satisfied with my ability as a baseball announcer, which had never yet been tested under fire. That's the only thing we
but if they, okay, say for a second that is the case, wouldn't they just tell you that a year ago when they're trying to get the contract?
I'd like to think that after 22 years with any employer that, yes, they would call you in and they'd say, Brent, we're not satisfied with you. as a baseball announcer, let's make another kind of deal. Never happened. Never a breakdown of any kind. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope nobody gets fired the way I did, man, 2:30
But
in the morning.
that's broadcasting. That's the way it always happens. Something
Well, you
silly
know,
like
I've
that.
never been fired.
Yeah.
From anything.
Now, the other thing I thought maybe was the problem was, now, your brother Todd, is he a real lawyer?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Or is he just, you know, or is he just carrying the bags?
You know, David, how do you fire your agent when he's your brother?
Yeah.
You know what? You know how trapped I am? I gotta keep the guy.
So then last night, now, by the way, I thought you did a great job of handling it, the Final Four weekend, and especially during the final game and at the end of the final game and so forth. And then last night, you go on the show with Sam Donaldson and Diane Sawyer, and you started naming names and so on and so forth. So you must have really been kind of burning inside about this.
Yeah, and I would not have named names or said anything at all, David, until suddenly the newspapers from around the country came in and all these anonymous quotes attributed to CBS executives that I'd been horrible to work with, that crews didn't like me, that I had producers fired, that I was an anchor monster. That's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, it just never went on. And these guys had to have a campaign to justify what they did.
Yeah.
All they had to do to Larry Tisch is justify we're saving, you know, a couple $1 million. I mean, that's all Larry, he signs off on it in a minute. But, you know, the rest of the people, what's going on? So they got to portray you as a bad guy.
Yeah.
That's when I got emotional, and that's when I reacted.
Well, I think you're entitled to those emotions after nearly a quarter of a century.
Yeah, it was very honest on my part. I mean, people probably don't get to see that side of me, but I was angry, and I lashed back.
Now, let me ask you one other thing. This is just a question in theory. CBS, it seems to me like this couldn't have come at a worse time for them because they're not exactly on top of the broadcasting world.
No, as you may have noticed.
So
Yeah.
to let one of their bona fide blue chip guys go, that seems like a mistake.
I called Tisch after I'd been axed on Monday.
Yeah, I called him too.
Oh, did you get? I got thrilled. He picked up the phone and I said,
sent
you
him
know,
a tape.
And I said, you know, Larry, I want to tell you about the deception. I went through part of it. And then I said, you know, one of the things about this that strikes me is that this network can't get anything right. And he says, tell me about it. Well, there's a guy admitting it.
Yeah.
You know, they're just...
It's interesting that the people, well, I won't get into this, but there's a really different attitude and personality and ego structure of the people who are in front of cameras and the people who are in front of desks.
Well, the ones at the desk, I think, some of them, not all of them, resent talent and what they can do and how much they earn and how easy they make it look as a livelihood.
Well, say it.
I mean,
Brent.
a lot of NBC guys...
They're
resent you,
weenies.
but
Admit it. They're
Oh, yeah.
weenies.
Absolutely. And worse.
And boneheads.
Bozos. Where are those clowns that work with me before?
But also, another point, aren't you surprised that it became this big a story?
Well, yeah, but you know, they did it. They did it. Nobody in their right mind announces a firing on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Anybody knows anything about
It was
news.
odd, especially the day of the big...
You know, because first of all, there was no big sporting event until the next day, so
Yeah.
I didn't have that to compete with for the headlines. Secondly, you know, around the country, you worked at news, what is it, Indianapolis?
Yeah.
You were the local news
Yeah.
outfit, did the weather, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
So you know that there's a limited number of crews on Sunday. So they read the wire, they rip the wire. Oh, here's this guy got fired. Man, this is a big story.
All right,
so they
so
went with it.
let's do a commercial and we'll find out what things your life is going to have for you now. We'll be back here at Brent Musburger. This has certainly been covered, every aspect of the discussion and the situation. But the more you think about it, the more it seems like a really dumb thing for them to have done. I don't care, because anytime you turn on CBS, you see you, and you're so closely identified with that network and their sports program. Saturdays, Sundays, primetime, during the week, everything. I don't care if they caught you looking in Connie Chung's windows. You should still be there.
Connie Chung's windows, man. I used to anchor the news with her in Los Angeles.
So what will you do now? I remember right after it was announced, you said you were going to take a long vacation.
Yeah, I took 2 days off this week.
And you're ready to go now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm ready. You get somebody a contract, and I'm ready to go.
So where could you go that would offer you the same opportunities that you had at
You know,
CBS?
the Turner Broadcasting System down in Atlanta, they've got a nice package, and they got some Winter Olympics coming up in baseball, and they got some pro football, so there's things to do there. Then ESPN, David, they got, you know...
Oh, ESPN,
Chris Berman
yeah.
can't do it. Right? Got to get up there and do some work with ESPN.
What about NBC? Would you come to NBC?
Yeah, sure. But you know what? They got lots of good talent over there.
But
I mean, they got the deepest lineup. They got they got Bobby, and they got Marv,
Dick
and they got
Enberg.
Dick Enberg. They've really got the deepest talent pool. They probably would have the least use for me of any of them.
Have you had calls from
I'll go
people?
back to CBS if they fire a couple of executives.
But I mean, the more you dwell on their situation, the more ridiculous this situation
I got my
seems.
first broadcasting job offer from after I've been fired. You folks aren't going to believe this. CBS Radio. I said, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's the same company.
Yeah.
They come back in, and they say, yeah, you can come continue working for us. I said, what are you talking about?
They didn't get the memo, apparently.
They didn't. They weren't told until the Sunday morning.
Open your mail.
Then the Washington Post called today. They want me to come back and write a column. I think I'll write a TV column. They'll be one of the critics, you know.
Yeah. You know, but what is there about CBS? I mean, there was Andy Rooney most recently, Jimmy the Greek, in, out, and then gone.
Right.
What was that story? He punched you or you punched him years ago?
He punched me, unfortunately. You know, he got me right here, David.
And what were you guys talking about at that point?
We were talking about where we were going to have dinner and how much airtime he was going to get next Sunday. Not necessarily in that order.
And boom, there you go.
Oh, boom, man, I was down flat. They turned the lights off. They're pushing me. My brother Todd was there, too. He broke it up.
You mean Todd the attorney?
Todd the attorney, man. He rode right in, Dave. I'm telling you. He's the greatest agent anybody ever had.
In your life, you mentioned you've never been fired from anything. Is that right?
Never been fired. I had a tough time as an umpire one night when I was a minor league umpire. I had a tough time. Remember Tim McCarver? And he was the catcher, and I make a bad call. He's the hitter. Call the ball, foul, and you know the tinkle of the glass. And I think I've told you that window was 50 feet in fair territory. So I had to kick a lot of guys out. And the next day I went to a bank, and they wouldn't cash my check.
How much was the check for?
$250. That was for a month, not a week.
You wanted to be an umpire, right?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to be oh, yeah, I loved it.
Now, what does a major league umpire make these days?
You know, a good one's probably up around 6 figures, Dave, if you've been around about 20 years now. Yeah. You could get up to $100,000. That would be the highest salary level for a major league umpire.
Well,
right
that's good, I think. They deserve something.
I may have to go back.
So now what is going to happen? What the hell? How did your family take this? Are they still stunned?
You know, I must say that it was so nice to have my wife Arlene and one of my children Blake from the Mid-American Conference, Miami of Ohio. It was there with me, and it was nice to have that support, you know, to rally around. You know, folks, I got to tell you, some of you have lost jobs before. And no matter how we make it and glibly address this, I mean, it's tough for a few days. You know, you can't sleep and you wonder if something's wrong with you and everything. But the family was there. The lawyer, Todd, was in the next room.
Well, now what are we going to do? You know, what about Ball State, though, in that tournament?
Great. I had a game, you know, and I was thinking about you.
I was so disappointed and sorry for those guys. They came so close.
Nice job. You know, Dick Hunziker did a great job.
But they couldn't get that shot off.
Did you ever get Majerus up here?
Yeah. No, we never did. Before he went out to...
Before he went out to Utah?
Yeah, no, never did.
The coach out there. But if they'd have got that shot off and made it, they could have gone all the way. Great
defense.
You think so? Yeah, really. I'm telling you. They could have beaten anybody.
Really?
They could have played
anybody.
Yeah, they'd have taken care of it.
What are we doing here? Oh, is he coming or going? Is he staying or am I leaving? Okay, we've both been fired. We'll be right back here.
Guys, think these women really get the party.
This is me.
And I think that a lot of folks are going to jump to the conclusion that because Brent Musburger shows up, Al Michaels is going to leave and go over to CBS. As far as I'm concerned, not true at all. I hope that Al Michaels stays at ABC. I think he's a great broadcaster. I worked with him at CBS. I can certainly work with him at ABC. I think that when you look at the ABC sports lineup in the next few years, it is the most underrated of the three major networks. They've got all the college football coming their way. In college basketball, they're extremely competitive. The Pan American Games, wide world of sport. Let me tell you, there's enough on the table for Al Michaels, Brent Musburger, Keith Jackson, Jim McKay, Frank Gifford, and everybody else. I'm just delighted to be joining this great tradition, Charles. For years, we used to chase, you know, ABC Sports. Well, we could never catch them. They set the standard.
But when people look at that from the outside, they say, boy, that's a lot of money to spend for a guy who's, if not a backup to Michaels, for one more horse in the stable.
Well, you know, folks sometimes spend some money on an insurance policy, and they got me around, and I can do a variety of things. I can move into the studio for them if they need that done for Wide World, and I can go out in the field, and I think some people are surprised they read that one of my first assignments is the Little League World Series, and they're saying, how can he go from the NCAA championship? Let me tell you something. One of the events I've always wanted to do is the Little League World Series. Doesn't bother me in the least. I show up wherever they tell me, and I'll do the same kind of enthusiastic job. The only thing I got to work on right now is how to pronounce all those Taiwanese names over there, Charles.
Well, but you used the expression insurance policy, and there has been a lot of speculation in the press that Al Michaels might go to your old stomping ground, CBS. Right. Dennis Swanson, who's the president of ABC Sports, said yesterday, Brent's involvement with us at this point, were Dennis's words, and I add the emphasis, does not include Monday Night Football. Now, were there some discussions with you about the possibility of Monday Night Football if Al, as some people expect, moves on?
Not really, Charles. Dennis said to me up front right away, and Dennis and I go way back, we're old friends. He said, Brent, we are not going to let Al out of his contract. He is an ABC employee. He's just won an Emmy. We want him on Monday Night Football. We've got the silver anniversary Super Bowl coming up. We would like you to host that 2-hour pregame show, do the halftime, go down with the trophy presentation. I said it'd be great, back-to-back Super Bowls, and I hope that Al Michaels is right there with Dan Deerdorf and Frank Gifford. That's the way it should be.
Well, Brent Musburger, it's a delight to have you aboard.
It's great, Charles. I appreciate it so much. Say good morning to Joan and Christian. Nice to be with everybody.
I will, and congratulations. It's always nice, as you say, to be off the unemployment rolls.
You got that right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Charles.
Thanks for being with us this morning, Brent. Look forward to seeing you soon. It is 41 minutes after the hour. Joel Siegel with the A to Z on Q&A when Good Morning America continues in a moment.
Been very controversial, from CBS to ABC to an evening here with us. Give it up for Brent Musburger.
I love the dog pound. That's your Cleveland days over there.
Yeah.
Brown fans.
Yeah, you know that.
They're terrific up there.
It was my
brown shirts up there and everything.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even see that, yes.
You know, I got to tell you, all your great fans out here, I got two boys. One's 21, Miami of Ohio, Mid-American. You went to Kent State.
Absolutely.
Okay, I asked him, I said, vote. He said, you got to go out to see Arsenio Hall if they invite you.
That's good.
The other one, a junior up at Taft, 18. You are hot with the kids, man.
Well... The kids deserve the talk show, you know?
I agree.
Yes.
So what's an old man like me doing here?
Well, I think it's important to bring them everything.
Okay.
You bring them everything from New Kids on the Block through Bobby Brown and right to Brent Musburger. Yeah, that's important. It's important. Let's talk about CBS.
Do we have to?
Well, I think we should mention
I'd rather talk about ABC, man. They're paying the bills now, but whatever you think.
They really are. They really are. They're happy. Yes. Everybody who can read knows what's been going on. Do you think CBS regrets now what they've done?
You know, you'd have to, Arsenio, ask the two executives. Yeah. So far, there's been no explanation from anybody at CBS to me exactly why they did it or what their reasoning was. I think, as everybody knows, the timing was just absolutely atrocious. Can I tell you one story?
Sure.
As soon as you hear it happens, that you've been fired, and you realize there's a firestorm, the one thing that you want to have around you is your family. So my wife, Arlene, was there, and my one son, and I said, we got to get out of here. We're going to get hounded. Let's get on the road. And we went down to Colorado Springs, went down to the Air Force Academy Chapel. Then we went up to Boulder. And we went into a pizza parlor, and I said, boys, let's have one last round on Larry Tisch. And I reached in, and I pulled out, I'm going to carry this forever, his American Express, his CBS card, okay?
Yeah.
So I threw it to the guy, and I said, come on, boys, drink up, have some pizzas. And the young man came back to me, Arsenio, and he threw it on the table, and he said, Mr. Musburger, I'm sorry, but the machine doesn't accept this card. And I said, man, this company really works fast. And then he looked down at me.
Yes.
He looked down at me, and he went, April Fools.
Oh.
So I got fired on April Fools and hired on May Day by ABC.
Guys, if you had to, in your mind, decide what the real reason was, what would you say? I mean, because I know you had feelings.
I would say, Arsenio, that there was probably some doubts that I could do Major League Baseball if I had to put my finger on something.
Now, that's stupid because I have spent maybe an hour reading on you, and I know not only were you on a champion Little League team when you were young, but, but some of your early work was baseball.
Oh, yeah, that's how I grew up, was covering Major League Baseball as a writer. And then when I got kicked out of Northwestern for a year, I went down to umpiring school. Down to Florida and banged around the Midwest League. You probably know some of those towns.
Absolutely.
Keokuk, Iowa, Clinton, Iowa, Garden Spots, folks, Paris, Illinois, you know, Kokomo.
So I don't understand that decision. It wouldn't have taken much research to find out that you could handle that.
Yeah, and you know, I think there was probably some resentment on the part of some of the executives. They probably thought that I'd done too much through the years. Maybe they felt I was hard to handle, and that I wasn't a puppet for them or something like that.
Are you hard to handle?
No, I think sometimes, Arsenio, that...
Because you know you've gotten a bad rap, and I've read things where you say it's not fair, but you've gotten a bad rap for being a tough guy and a hard to handle.
Yeah. You know, that I want to have good shows. I'm like you.
Yeah.
You know, so I demand that everybody show up on time and get their work done. But no, I don't think I'm hard to handle at all. I think I'm pretty easy, actually. Because I still love the sports. I'm like you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really get into the athletes and what they're doing, what their competition.
Right. What will you miss most about CBS?
Oh, I will miss, without a doubt, I'm going to miss the basketball. You know, now the NBA Finals getting ready. You know, and that's great drama. Obviously, I went through some great years with them. You know, the Los Angeles Lakers here were one of the marvelous. And then, you know, the Final Four, we were blessed in the 80s with some of the greatest basketball games I've ever seen. The North Carolina-Georgetown game down in New Orleans, man, when James Worthy and Patrick Ewing got it on that night. It's just one of the greatest college basketball games, maybe the best that I've ever been around. You're going to miss that on that particular night. But, you know, there's a lot of new challenges at ABC. You know, you go someplace else, and they've got a different string of events, and you look forward to working with their people.
Mm-hmm.
And
say no more.
Okay.
Let's take a commercial and come back and talk about the future and the new challenges.
You got it.
Brent Musburger. You were talking, and I didn't want to interrupt your conversation earlier, or maybe you were just politically shooting over a particular subject, but you mentioned Northwestern, and you said, I was kicked out of there.
Yes.
What was that about?
Well, I was driving, owning and operating a car illegally as a freshman. I guess now you'd probably have to blow up the chemistry lab. Back in, you know, my days, if I operated a car illegally, I got bounced for a year, and because I grew up in Montana, I said, you know, I didn't want to go back there and spend the winter. I think you can understand. So I went down to Florida, went down to Daytona Beach, and went through umpiring school down there. And then the Midwest League hired me for 1 year, and I was off and running. I was 18 years old. I was the youngest umpire in the minor leagues, but I never told anybody how young I was, because the players would have just massacred me. They would have just run all over. And the only defense that you could use as a young official was you kicked players out. You got a reputation for not having any nonsense. You know Earl Strom?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, my hero. Takes no nonsense, you know, and gives the road team a fair shake. When, you know, when your Lakers go on the road to Portland and Earl's up there officiating, you know, you're gonna get a fair break. I could have done it. My father encouraged me to go back to school. He said you can always officiate after you get done. So I went back to Northwestern and then wound up as a writer and got into broadcasting and went from there.
And now that you're going to ABC, what will be your responsibilities there?
Basically, they'll start off with a lot of college football. And one of the first assignments, really, I'm looking forward to, because you mentioned the Little League World Series. And, of course, last year, Trumbull, Connecticut gave the country. You know, I really think that everybody identifies with the Little League baseball program. You know, there's a lot of little child in all of us growing up. And now, Arsenio, you'd be surprised how many girls are now playing in the programs across the country, and they're really good. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised someday we'll wind up at Williamsport and there'll be a little girl out there pitching. Some 12-year-old should be getting the job done.
And the girls are not playing in their own league. They're playing with the boys.
Absolutely. And some of them are every bit as good as the boys. You know, when I was growing up, I didn't realize the girls wanted to compete that much, but they love it. And it's terrific to see the opportunities open up for them. I really thoroughly enjoy it. And you see the dads and the moms out there, you know, with the kids and getting behind them. And it means so much. You know, if we can do anything in this country, is if we can get the mothers and the fathers in behind the kids in the cities like Cleveland, where you grow up, or out in Montana, or here in Los Angeles, wherever we are, you need that support, you know. And I believe in sports, not just we all want to go out and watch Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson. I mean, they're fantastic. But I like to see the youth, you know, compete and see the parents get in there and help them out. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of bad raps that parents get, but I think they do a lot of good, too.
Absolutely. I heard, and this might be a rumor, Jim Valvano is possibly coming to ABC or was signed this morning.
Yeah, they announced it. They announced it today, and I've got the pleasure of working with him in basketball for ABC. And Jimmy's a great character. They ran into some troubled times at North Carolina State, but he was certainly not found guilty of anything. There was no criminal activity in his past. And I've told him, Arsenio, I said, you know, I'd love to work with you. But, man, I'm not eating that Italian food every night. Way too much.
Well, then you could go back and be an umpire. But
I won't need that protector. I get it.
Who's your favorite sportscaster?
I've got so many that I really admire. I think the person who set the standard and was class and everything he did was Jim McKay. I thought that his performance over at the Munich Olympics when the Israeli athletes lost their lives, I think stands as a benchmark for a great performance by a sportscaster on American television. I still remember the night and the way he handled it. And I think of the play-by-play people here in Los Angeles, I think the folks are blessed to be able to listen to Vince Scully describe a baseball game on a radio. I think it's like an art form. And in basketball, and I love him, I get a kick out of Chicky Baby. You know, you never hear of the analyst, but I know how to play to the L.A. crowd. But really, the list goes on and on. I mean, you've got Keith Jackson in college football. You got Dick Enberg, who can do so much. You got guys coming up like Bob Costas, now Al Michaels over at ABC. Really, an awful lot of great announcers that you can sit down and enjoy. One of my personal favorites and a close friend is Harry Carey in Chicago.
Speaking of personal friends, how is your relationship with Jimmy the Greek?
Well, better than it was one stormy night in a saloon in New York City.
What actually happened?
Well, you know, Arsenio, it's an unfortunate thing. He felt that I was giving too much airtime to Phyllis George. Okay, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in a pub in New York, and it was late at night or early in the morning. I'd lost track, and there were four of us, and there was a railing, and Jimmy came up, and he kind of like hit me on the side of the head like this, and somebody else who was...
was it like that, or did he sucker punch you? Was it? Well, it wasn't quite.
He sucker punched me, but it was, you know, it was heck. He was.
That's almost like that seems like something Richard Lewis might do.
Arsenio,
you know, the horror. You know, it's like. What was it more like? No,
man. It wasn't. No, he didn't have that.
Oh, he didn't have that.
He didn't have that zap. It wasn't Mike Tyson coming to level me.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll tell you what, all hell broke loose in that saloon. I mean, bodies were diving all over. I never got a hand on anybody. They pushed me down to the corner. And the one thing you do in a saloon, you turn the lights off. You know, I didn't realize that. When a fight breaks out, get the lights turned off. Because then nobody knows who's grabbing who, and then they flash them back on, and everybody was okay. And Jimmy and I were good friends after that. I think it was a combination of the work and the pressure and probably the alcohol of the moment, and it just happened that we were public figures. Yeah. And so wound up in the newspaper.
And you all have made up since.
Oh, yeah. No. I feel badly that Jimmy's still unemployed, you know, that he lost his job and he hasn't caught on someplace. He's down
You know, a lot of I remember when I first heard it, I said, wow, you know, Jimmy the Greek sucker punched Brent Musburger, and I said, oh, that's cold-blooded. And then somebody was telling me that you actually were a pretty tough kid, so my friends were saying, I worry what happened to Jimmy in the dark.
Man, no, that's why I didn't play football. I wasn't a tough kid.
You weren't? Because a friend of mine was, obviously, he don't look tough. And a friend of mine said, no, he was tough. He was a tough kid.
No, you... No, man.
You
couldn't handle it. I was a pussycat.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. Growing up in Montana, I had tough friends all my life. You know, I surrounded myself with some of those cowboys. And
Well,
they
that's
took care of
important.
business, yeah.
You know, you don't have to be able to fight, but hang out with Hulk Hogan.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
always get the first draft choice. You know, I always thought that that was the way to go.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm happy that things have worked out for you, and we'll be looking for you at ABC doing all the things that you're going to do.
I appreciate it, Arsenio.
Tell your kids I said hi.
That's great, man.
Okay.
Keep it up. You're doing a great
You
job.
hang in there.
Okay, then.
Brent Musburger.